Welcome into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio on this day, a Friday. Is it 15 or 16? What day is this?
It is 15 today.
There was the beep. I said, okay, wait, let me do that again. Welcome in, everybody. It's Friday. Is it 15 or 16? Nope, no beep. I still have that cricket chirp beep somewhere, Sky, that there's
What's
a
it
word or a
responding to?
phrase or some way that I mangle the English language that causes one of my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electronic devices that are cooking me as we speak, I'm sure. Because if anybody is ever going to have electromagnetic radiation poisoning, it is going to be me. And I'm also going to be blind.
And deaf. Don't forget
1,
deaf.
2, 3, 4, 5. Because there are 6 screens facing me at all times. I have to turn you know how they say, oh, we're really struggling with having to keep the data centers cool. I have to turn the air down to blow into the studio. There is so much junk running in here at all times.
Resonating heat.
It's amazing. It really, really is. I mean, you've got one. I know you've got 3 or 4 things pointing at you right now. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, we're just consumed by it. Did I ever show you the control room while you were here?
Is that where?
You talking about generating some heat?
Is that where Jay and them are?
No, it's on back.
Further back in there?
Everything, yeah.
Where all the servers are?
Yes.
And it gets hot back there.
Yeah, got to keep.
I wonder why they don't focus on. Well, I mean, I guess they do. Do you think they focus on how to make those things not generate, like be more efficient with the heat usage? You know how like your hot water heater or your inline water heater, and they're like, oh, it's 99.9% efficient. Even the exhaust is cooler now than it was because we're getting every little drop of heat is getting into the water. Why don't they do that with electronics?
I think they do. It's so much.
It's just too much brain power.
Yeah, remember the old receivers and amplifiers? No, you don't.
No, I remember. I used to put amps under the seats of the cars.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Well, you know how much heat. Remember how much those?
Yeah.
And they just used heat sinks back then to dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those got warm now.
Oh, yeah, they had fins on them and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So, interesting. But anyway.
Yeah, we're just doing it with microwave now. So.
And blue light.
On the inside. Yeah.
I do think that may be why my eyes are getting worse.
No doubt.
I'm just frying them with blue light. And you know what I'm going to do? For the YouTube today, I didn't even put on my commentator's robe that I have been wearing usually, my black robe of intellect. But I'm going to put on my blue light glasses.
I need to get some of those.
So people can see how cool I look with 1960s Army issue black rim frames.
Man, you know what you need to go with those glasses?
What?
Some tape over the bridge.
You think I should? You think I should just put some masking tape right there just for the look, for the appeal of it? Look at this guy on the internet.
That's what they need. Yeah.
I'm going to wear them. Here's the thing. If you go to YouTube and you look, and you can find it over at Scott Beason, and then you got to go to live. That's one of the things people are missing.
Oh.
But in the reflection of the glasses, I can see it right now. The screens that you can see in the reflection are blue. So it's blocking the blue light. It's literally doing what they're supposed to do.
And this is supposed to help with your eyesight?
Supposed to keep from, because the blue light is supposed to be bad for your eyes.
I've seen them advertised.
And for your brain and all that. And it could be a scam. You know how they do. They come up with, hey, if you do this, you won't get cancer. And everybody buys it. Probably causes cancer. But you buy it thinking you're avoiding cancer.
You find out 10 years later that it was actually worse than
remember the sunscreen scam that we still can't get out of our system. Hey, go get some chemicals, rub it on the largest organ in your body, let it soak in, and you won't get cancer, except for the fact that once we started rubbing all that into our skin, the cancer rates went up, and then somebody said, I don't, it seems like that could be a problem.
Yeah, it also stops the absorption of vitamin D, which
causes more problems.
Right. So,
and we did the worst. We did the spray. That comes into, and if you ever let that get on don't ever let it get on your sunglasses lenses if you have plastic lenses. Don't let it get on the, don't let it get on your watch if it has a plastic face. because that stuff will eat into the plastic.
Oh, it's got to be good for you then.
Oh, it must be excellent.
Fantastic.
Then you wonder,
eats plastic.
Did you really get sunburned, or did you chemically burn yourself?
You know, back long a time ago when we was all ignorant about everything, we just ran around in the sun. We didn't
know any
sunscreen.
better.
No, I do. A lot of girls, especially, would put baby oil on their skin.
Which, you know what?
And lay
Probably
out in
at
the
the
sun.
end, butter.
Yeah. Who knows? But I mean,
My wife did the baby oil thing back in the day, and you know what they would do? Of course, look, we come from. I say it's Mayberry. It might have been heavy on the country. I mean, it was still suburbs, but they would climb up on the roof of the house.
Yeah.
To lay out with the baby oil.
Yeah. We were so dumb.
I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. But
baby oil, man. Well, you're closer to the sun when you climb up on the roof, so you're going to get a better tan. Yeah. I get it, yeah.
And it had to be 27,000 degrees up there. They were getting sauna treatment on top of that. You know when you have to do some roof repair or put a roof on a house?
I've ever done that to know I didn't want to do any more.
It is so hot. That roofing's black. You know, it all used to be black. And they're up there just cooking. Man, unbelievable. Golly, America was such a great place at one time. I mean, think about it. How many little kids today, what is this generation? Y or something? Or are we to alpha yet? I think we may be at alpha because it actually goes X, Y, Z. Millennials are Y, apparently.
Okay.
So somehow they came up with X, and then they're like, well, what will we do the next one? And they're like, well, we've got to do Y, Z. I was told a couple of days ago that we're now working on generation A, alpha. Because we started at X. We had baby boomers, then we had X, Y, Z. Now we're at alpha, which is funny. Because what will the next generation of boys be? Betas.
Perfect.
I know. It's going to fit perfectly. They're going to have
like it was planned.
Two molecules of testosterone, one sperm, be totally reproductively useless, and they're going to look exactly like girls.
Wow. It's almost like it was planned out.
Almost like somebody's doing it on purpose, Sky. Wow. I mean, I don't know who would do it on purpose, but let's just suffice it to say it is accomplices of Satan.
Okay. Works for me.
And that everybody can decide whether or not, what team you're on. But we have been doing things as a nation and as a people, as a creature class to destroy ourselves. And it's almost like we were warned about someone whose only purpose was to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
And his minions have done so many things. God, you're crazy. We made the frogs gay, for goodness sakes. If you're doing enough stuff to the environment to make the frogs gay, you got to be doing stuff to human beings, right?
True story.
It's unbelievable.
No doubt.
By the way, back to the sun. Did you see that they said that seed oils are now a culprit for affecting how the sun affects you? Like you don't tan as well because of seed oils.
No.
Something about melanin production or whatever. And so I've been kind of becoming a little sensitive to this whole seed oil thing. And maybe it's, maybe you're just not supposed to. But you can't hardly get away from that.
No, try to avoid it.
And it's another one of those stories, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong. It's another one of those stories where some super duper gajillionaire guy has a bunch of leftover stuff, and they're like, how do we get rid of this? Well, you can send it to the landfill. I don't want to send it to the landfill. How do we get people to buy it? And then they spend a few $1 million getting Americans to buy it. And then they make billions of dollars, and we get poisoned
off of garbage.
It's really amazing what you can do.
Time after time.
Remember when people got rid of butter? People my mom's age.
Margarine.
You got to get that margarine. You got to get that Crisco. Forget lard. Lard will kill you. Give me a thing of Crisco.
Animals wouldn't eat it.
Exactly. You can't get the possums to eat it.
That's what it was invented for.
If you rub it on you, probably keep some mosquitoes off. because the mosquitoes are like, I'm not landing in that crap. Anyway, what day is it? It is the 15th.
It is Friday.
Friday the 15th, a free-for-all Friday. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We appreciate you listening to the program. We appreciate everything you do for us. Telling people about the show today is a free-for-all Friday. We do have a couple of special guests. We're going to have Jeff Minnick is going to be on a little while later. He is one of the opinion writers over at 1819 News and is involved with the Fred and Rita Skelton Center for Cultural Renewal. So you don't want to miss that at 10. And then we're going to have Pamela Casey, who is running for Attorney General. She'll be on at the start of the 11 o'clock hour. So check with us, follow with us. But it is a free-for-all Friday. And speaking of that, there's a lot of different things that are out there. I ran over a number of stories that I want to ask you about. But this one is one that's making the news and the rounds. Now, of course, the president is in China, and we're kind of waiting to see what happens with that. Some people talking about discussing Taiwan and how that works. And, you know, here's the thing. I was talking with someone earlier about China and Taiwan, Sky. And it's like everything else. I have decided that the Iran war, or whatever we're calling this thing, is not about Iran.
Okay.
It's not about, finishing up a 50-year-long conflict with the crazies that we put in charge or helped put in charge.
So you're eliminating some of our initial theories.
Well, I'm not eliminating them. I think they're all little blocks of a bigger structure.
Okay.
Like, hey, it's a bonus. It's like killing two birds with one stone. It's a bonus to get maybe topple the crazies in the Iranian regime that are anti-American. Do some of them have reason to be anti-American? Probably do, but that doesn't change where we are 50 years later. I think it's going to come down to, what was that number, Sky? That it has to do with China. But it's not only China. I think it is legitimately in Donald Trump's mind. And I think these are the things that Tucker Carlson misses. And I think it's one of those things. And I do think Donald Trump would have done a better job of maybe calling some of those influential media people and saying, hey, look, but you know what? You can't trust them. No, I'm not talking about Tucker, but I'm talking about some of them. If y'all remember, and I know some of our listeners get mad at Jeff Sessions all the time, okay? One of the things Jeff Sessions did, which is one of the reasons I respect him greatly, is he has been asked about his private conversations with Donald Trump. And I'm sure some of them did not go well. Trump can't control himself at times. It doesn't mean I don't support him. He's just volatile, okay? Jeff Sessions will never tell you about those conversations. He's not going to go out and write a book. He's not going to go out and do the media circuit. He's not going to go out and say, hey, look, I've got inside information you don't have. Now, I respect that greatly. There have been conversations that I've had with people, with political people, that you'll never know who it was with. Now, I might say, hey, I had a conversation with a politician one time, but I'll never give you enough information for you to know who that person was. Okay? And what I would wish had happened was that Donald Trump called up some of these people and said, hey, look, you got to trust me on this one. It's not all about Israel. It's not all about Iran. It's not all about oil. It's not all about so-and-so. Just look at me. See me in the eyes. Just trust me. Be with me, okay? It's not what you think it is. Be with me. Here's the problem. And I don't necessarily think it's Tucker, but I do think some of the other influencers, maybe a Candace Owens, whoever, would not be able to contain themselves. There are people who cannot help but to tell you and me and all of us that they've had a conversation with the governor. They had a conversation with the president. They had a conversation with the senator. And it's like the thing you used to do, Sky. You knew the person to say, hey, look, how do we get this out? How do we make everybody know this? Well, go to Senator whoever from Hertz-Hatchie. Okay, Senator Ledlow, is that his name in Hertz-Hatchie?
That's the guy. Yeah.
Go to Senator Ledlow and say, hey, whatever you do, don't tell anybody what I'm about to tell you. You promise? Oh, I promise. Because this is you got to keep this down home, man. The real reason that we're doing all the things we're doing in Iran and we're doing a lot of other things all at the same time is because we are strengthening up the American empire, and we're not going to be anybody's little brother. We're not going to be wusses. We're not going to try to conquer the world, but we are going to reassert that we are in charge. China's not in charge. They can keep trying it, but we're cutting them off at the knees. And anytime they decide they want to flex, we're in charge of where all the oil goes.
Right. Strategic.
And on top of that, we're going to end up being buddies with Russia. You know why? Because Russia is not big on them either, and Russia just wants to be left alone. And if Russia will commit to us, hey, look, you give us a nod, we'll cut them off in a heartbeat. But otherwise, we'll all play nice and we'll all be good as long as China's not trying to take over the world. You can't go out and say that. You got to do a lot of things. And when you look around at the other things that we're doing, including saying we're going to be in charge of the Western Hemisphere, which Venezuela was a step in that.
Right.
Poor old commies in Cuba, they're going to eventually get it probably.
Well, they're suffering.
Oh yeah, they are. They're going to be broken, and we're going to be totally in charge in the Western Hemisphere. And you can be mad at us and do all that kind of stuff. You don't have to be a lapdog for us, but you're not going to be a lapdog for China in our hemisphere or any of our enemies. And I don't believe the president can say that, Sky.
No, of course not. But this was a subtext in Category 3 of the petrodollar.
The petrodollar.
Yes.
But
choke off Venezuela oil. Choke off the Iranian. You know what currency is trading for in Iran currently?
What?
Against the dollar?
I
believe they use the real.
Something like that,
1.4 million is
to the
equal
dollar.
To a dollar. Yeah, so continue, please.
So their currency. And so, see, that makes it right. It's one of the blocks of a bigger little castle that's stacked together. Does it have to do with Iran and 50-year war? Yes. Is it the petrodollar? Yes. Is it? But all that builds a part of the little castle.
Strategic maneuvering
that you can't say.
Right.
If the president said, I'm out here to, and then this next story adds on to that theory. Now, like, I'm not the one who totally hashed this out, but there are a number of people beginning to say these things. And this next story, I think, is another telltale sign that is indeed what we're doing. And then everyone is having to decide, are you with us? Are you going to ride this train? Are we all good? Are we all good with this? And there's a little bit of sign that China's like, you know what? Now, can you trust them forever? Probably not. But they've got their own problems. But you know who's just flunking the test altogether?
Canada.
Canada's flunking. You're exactly
Western
right.
Europe.
And their sisters over in Europe are flunking the test. They really are. We got to take another break. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We appreciate you listening to the show, and thank you so much for telling people about it and telling people that you listen and telling people that it is different than other shows. A number of you have been struggling. I know you live outside of our terrestrial signal. I've been contacted a number of times the last few days, and if you're having a hard time finding the stream at newstalk931.com, you can go over to YouTube, search for Scott Beason, Beason, and you'll find a little picture with a white golf shirt and me. Click on there and then go to live, and you can listen to today's live stream. Do I promise you that it's always working right? No. Who's at blame when it doesn't work right? Me. But you can text me, call me, or whatever. Because Sky found out, had two different people contact me in the last 3 or 4 days, said if they get busy and something happens to their live stream during the show, they can't get back on, because we're still at the limits of the live stream's ability to handle it, and I will tell you off the air the rest of the story, which will make you feel good.
Okay,
but it might bother other people, so I won't tell you. So we're doing what we can to get out there to you. It is a premium, but check us out at YouTube. Is it the easiest to find? Not yet.
Not yet.
But as long
that's why
as
you got
you
to keep pushing.
Keep checking it, looking at it, listening to it, go back and listen to it. It will move up, and then it'll be easier and easier and easier for other people to find. So you'll actually be doing other people a favor around the world to make it easier to get. So we appreciate y'all doing that. So the rest of this story, I know we don't have anybody on the phone lines. I was pointing out that I think that President Trump, and I've had my questions, I don't enjoy the fact that it appears that we involve ourselves in conflicts at the behest of the political state of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and I don't like us doing things based on quote unquote Israeli intelligence. I don't enjoy not really having a disagreement, but maybe a dialogue where we don't see eye to eye all the time on, hey, well, yeah, we need to go over there and stop the Iranians from having nuclear weapons, which I do not think they were on the brink of having. So there's a lot of things that you're like, I don't know. But if you think about it, those 5 or 6 things, Sky, that we've got listed as our reasons to be involved in Iran, every one of them you can make the argument for. But I think you have to take all of them together and actually see it as a brilliant move, because some Americans are terrified of Iran having a nuclear weapon. And if you tell them, well, they might have one 100 years from now, well, fine, then blow them up, stop them, kill them all. They might have one 100 years from now, we got to stop it. Do I think that is a wrong position? Not necessarily, because I agree with you. I don't want Iran. They're if you're out there chanting death to America all the time for 50 years, I don't want you having a nuclear weapon. So, okay, great. I agree with you. The folks are like, well, we got to do it. We got to save Israel. I'm not for Israel being done away with. I'm not. I think they have way too much influence in American politics. I think they are a foreign country and they need to stop in our politics, but they have a lot of American citizens who their loyalty is to that country before it is to the United States, and they use their citizenship and their constitutional rights to fill the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House and possibly the presidency with people who will put them, I won't say first because that insults people, but very, 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 very high. Then you've got the whole aspect of the evangelicals in America, who many of them believe it's, save Israel no matter what because of what we've been taught about the end times, etc. Very little regard for what Jesus says about if you know me, you know the Father. If you don't know me, you don't know the Father. If you don't know me, you're against me. And if you're against me, you're for Satan. We ignore that completely. I get it. That wasn't meant to insult people. That's just where my mind's process is going. But all of those reasons are good reasons. All those reasons are reasons that I can accept and be with. But I think the president is playing a much bigger game that I didn't see when it first started. A couple of people were hinting at it, and it seems to be solidifying more and more and more. And you combine the president going to China during this conflict with Iran, And you combine it with what we're doing in Europe, where before the break I said, look, there's a number of countries who are just missing this completely and are going to end up on the wrong side of the equation, I think. Sky suggested Canada. Absolutely. Canada wants to be a European country so bad they cannot stand it. We're like, oh, we're very Europe-y. We're very Europe-y over here. And I'm like, no, it's syrupy is the word you're looking for, but we're very Europe-y. But you look at these countries and they say things like, well, if you don't like that, we won't take part with what you're doing in Iran, which is about restructuring global power. We don't want to be a part of that. We don't want to be a part of that. We're just not going to be a part of that. And then Trump comes along and says, okay, fine. Well, what you got? Well, we might not even want American troops in our country. They thought that was a threat to Americans?
Your terms are acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. I accept your terms. So Trump's like, okay, fine. We'll take troops out of Germany.
Germany.
And then lo and behold, there's a story this morning. Who wrote this story? Paul Saran. Not only did the NATO countries fail to step up to help the U.S., some of them went as far as denying the use of military bases on strikes. Donald Trump's response came first with public criticism, and now the actual practical consequences are starting to unfold. Yesterday, which was the 14th, it arose that the Department of War has canceled plans to deploy 4,000 U.S.-based troops to Poland. Now, I didn't know Poland was, not necessarily... Here's what Poland's problem is. Poland's part of Europe. And Poland probably didn't say enough stuff. Now, here's what's funny. Poland, to me, has kind of been the outside edge group looking in. Not necessarily the cool kids. The cool kids are Germany, France, and Great Britain.
The usual players.
They're the cool kids, all right?
Right.
Poland's over here doing things like they're a little too much like Hungary in some ways. Now, the Europeans and the globalists have managed to wrestle Poland back from the conservatives, at least temporarily. And they're always like, well, we got Poland over there standing against the Russians. The Poles are tough still. The Poles will fight the fight. The Poles, so they've kind of seen them as, this is my view of it, as, hey, there are tough guys in our own neighborhood. Now we're in charge. We're Germany, England, and France. But we need somebody to brawl. We got the Poles. Poland's right there, and they're between us and Russia. And so they're kind of like our little, we got Ukraine's kind of our border, and we've killed almost all the Ukrainian men. We're going to replace them, by the way, with refugees and people from the Middle East and Northern Africa. So that that'll be fine. We'll have plenty of men. Won't change Ukraine at all. All we need is live human beings there, so we're going to work on that. And then Trump comes along and says, hey, we're not sending 4,000 American troops over there anymore. Now think about this. I know we've forgotten it, but Russia and Ukraine are still having a conflict, are they not?
You wouldn't know it from the Democrats, but yeah, it's still going on.
And Germany and France and Great Britain are like, oh yeah, we got to stop it. We're gonna fight to the bed. We're ready. We're gonna start building us a military. While all the American troops are sitting there, and they know good and well we're not going to let anything happen to our troops.
Correct.
But what happens if our troops are not there? What do these paper tigers do when the real tiger is not there?
All of a sudden, they're a lot more vulnerable without those U.S. bases.
Yeah. And even Poland, their tough guy, is probably like, wait a minute, well, we're tough, but we would like to have those 4,000 or 5,000 more U.S. troops here with us.
It's a nice insurance policy for free.
Yeah, what do you do when you're standing out there and you're beating your chest and you're saying, hey, Vladimir Putin, why don't you come on? And you look to your right and your left and there's no U.S. flags on the shoulders anymore. Do you feel so tough?
Well, it's not so much as a actual defensive force as it is an insurance policy that you don't want to attack American troops.
Exactly.
Yeah. Take them out.
So Trump is trying to send them the message, get on which side. And if you look at it, it looks like Vladimir Putin may be the only one understanding what's going on, him and Xi Jinping.
The big players.
While Germany, France, Great Britain, and all their other little European and Canadian sisters,
they're too busy pretending they're important.
they're too busy putting on dresses and pretending they're women.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. We got to take a break. Maybe they'll let us back on after it. We'll be back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. What happens, Sky? You can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. You got to.
On your mic. Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So here's the rest of the story with Poland. And then we've got, don't forget, we got Jeff Minnick up at the top of the hour. You will enjoy that. He is with the Skeleton Center for Cultural Renewal. So it'll be an interesting thing. There, did you hear it that time?
I heard it that time. Cultural renewal.
I'm going to say it again.
Cultural trigger.
Cultural renewal. Nope. Huh.
Okay.
I can't. I don't have the ability to figure out exactly what is causing it to do it. And I think it's right here in front of me. It may be the iPad, so we're gonna hunt that down. But I can't make it do it on purpose so that I know which one is causing it. But there's a key word somewhere. So the rest of the story about the 4,000 troops not going to Poland.
Right.
Listen to this. A ceremony marking the upcoming deployment of the 1st Cavalry Division, known as Casing the Colors, was held on May the 1st at Fort Hood, Texas, and military equipment was already in transit, underscoring how far advanced the tour was before it was aborted. So on May the 1st, we were still sending these next 4,000 to rotate in, and now we're not doing it.
Good.
Today's the 15th.
What do we have troops in Poland in the first place for? That was a World War II Cold War issue.
The Euro News says the decision is nevertheless likely to cause disappointment in Warsaw, where speculation had been mounting for weeks that some of the troops withdrawn from Germany could instead be redeployed to Poland, a country seen as key to protect the alliance's eastern flank against Russia. So instead of taking some from Germany and putting them in Poland, we're not sending the one. Now, look, we may take some from Germany and put them in Poland and not send this extra 4,000 to Poland. Maybe that's what we're doing.
Trade off.
But, okay. There's also the story that's connected to this, and it's one of those, and it reminds me that Pope Leo the 14th was blasting Trump when he was warning Iran that we would destroy their culture or whatever it is. And their culture is crazy Islamic. That's the leadership of Iran's culture, right?
Right.
Now, you would think the Pope would not have a problem with crazy, let's go kill everybody, jihadi-ism. But he had to weigh in. And when I think about that, the first thing that pops in my mind is America cannot be the police. And what we have been is everybody listen to me who's an older sibling, raise your hand. The youngest child will never understand this, okay, unless they have like a younger cousin or somebody, because the older children understand the idea of a parent yelling back there and saying, hey, I don't care what y'all are doing, you got to stop it right now, and Sky, you know better, and you better cut it out, and I better not hear another word out of y'all. And you're like, no, Scott, and you don't say it. Scott he has been throwing Skittles at me for 15 minutes. My little brother, my little sister has been sticking their tongue out. They spit on me earlier. They spilled their Coke on me. They just threw 2 goldfish at me. They've been shooting spitballs at me. They've been doing all this, and finally, I'm like, you better cut it out. I'm gonna whip. And then y'all get on to me, right?
Right.
I've always got to be good. I can't be the one that fights back. You better not hit them back. You better make sure that he has his backpack when he goes to school. You need to make sure his seatbelt's on. You should have told me he was doing that. All that stuff, right?
Big brother syndrome.
Now, you fast forward, you look at what the Pope was saying to President Trump. I don't think the Pope believes in the crazies in Iran. I don't. But the Pope wants us to play nice.
Always.
Europe wants us to fight their battles for them. Europe wants us to spend all our money making sure we can defend the world. Everybody wants us, the United States, to be the big brother. Now, they don't want us to be big brother when mom and dad aren't home. They don't want us to be big brother who will beat us up in the backyard because they're like, hey, mom and dad aren't here. You're about to get a butt whipping, little brother, right? They want us to be big brother that has to make them a sandwich. They want big brother that has to make sure that they do everything right. They want us to be big brother that makes sure they got everything they need. They want us to be big brother when the bully comes. But they never, ever, ever want to give us the respect that's due that says, hey, thank you for being... And little brothers and little sisters eventually grow up and say, hey, thank you for looking out for me. I don't know why you didn't kill me. I understand I was a pain in the backside, but thank you for that. Thank you for keeping Cousin Willie from throwing me in the pond.
Never hear any gratitude.
But from Europe and the Pope and others, there's no thank you for what you do. It's you just need to keep the peace. You take the losses. You worry about, a few people getting killed by a terrorist. You don't worry about that. You pay more for oil. You pay more for your health care. You don't have a retirement. You let the homeless people go there. You don't take care of your veterans. You just keep making everything easy for all the other little brothers and sisters in the world, even though you could be in charge with an iron fist. That's what I think has happened to us in the United States. We got to take a break. We got a big second half coming up. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. We appreciate you listening to the show. Hey, did we get somebody call in or not?
No guest caller yet.
Okay, well, good. Well, we'll maybe they'll call in a second. And what?
You said good.
Well, I didn't mean good like
I
meant
know.
like
I just
if they
messing.
were trying.
You
we
just
would,
want to know that they were being taken care of.
I really
understand.
hope they don't call at the top of the next hour because we've got somebody else
Already
at the top of
scheduled.
the next hour.
He's
So
booked solid today.
that'll be a problem. But okay, if they call in the next minute or two, we will take that.
Okay.
Here's the thing, the story that caught my attention. I don't know if y'all were listening during the break, and I caught a very, very small portion of it. Story by Austin Shipley. Apparently, Tommy Tuberville was on the radio this week. I'm looking at the article. Let's see here. So he was on the radio down in, where was he? In Mobile, praising the United States Supreme Court's recent ruling against racially based congressional maps. Now, this is the first paragraph, but cautioned against an immediate attempted transition to a conservative-dominated 7-0 layout. According to Tuberville, redistricting efforts in Republican-controlled states have been a direct response to continuous liberal gerrymandering. Absolutely correct, Senator. I think that it's great for the state of Alabama. The gerrymander nonsense really started in the Northeast. He's right about that. If you remember, we said Alabama's new district should be, when we get a 7-0 plan, should be called the New England model. If you look at the top 9 or 10 states in the Northeast, they're 35 to 40% Republican, which is about the same as what we have Democrats in the state of Alabama. But they have zero representation in the House. And he said that was a disgrace. So if they're going to gerrymander, we're going to do the same thing. And that is what, that's what I agree with. And that's what I like about Tommy Tuberville is that Tommy Tuberville understands that you got to fight the fight. Okay? He does. I'm giving him that. He continued to say that the thing that people don't understand is that race does not need to be involved when it comes to redistricting. This should be about politics, and that's what the Supreme Court said. We'll go with our ruling. We'll get a map that's pretty much back to the same map we had. Puts a lot of people in play here when it comes to a short-time election, which will happen the first couple of weeks of August. Then you don't have 50% if you get 30%, so et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's the part that I find is fascinating, okay? And you know I have pushed for a 7-0 map. I pushed for a 7, and this is probably why I have a little different take than the senator, because I pushed for a 7-0 map before we went and played all these games.
Long before. And I told the legislature how to do it. They didn't want to do it that way because, from a logical standpoint, Alabama has been told over and over and over and over again. Now, I based my decision on the Supreme Court's ruling when it came to the racial biases at Harvard. And if the Supreme Court's going to say, hey, you can't be giving out scholarships and stuff and figuring out what people's race is, thinking that if they're saying you can't do something like that in your own little school over there in one little place, that in their mind they're thinking we shouldn't be making decisions based on race anywhere in the United States. So before this started, I said, take out the racial data from the reapportionment databases and draw the districts based on do they vote Republican or do they vote Democrat. But Scott, those overlie. You know. Okay, then let the other side say that. You just say, hey, I drew districts to elect Republicans. Let the other side say, well, didn't you know that this part right here that votes Democrat, almost all Democrat, happened to be black? Let them say all that. Because I've lived the situation where they want to act like they don't know it, but at the same time, they want to accuse you of knowing it. Like they don't have any idea, but clearly you knew it, but I didn't even know. I can't even believe you would think that. I've lived that, all right? So Trump, I'm going to give you a couple of the statements that Tuberville made, then I'll explain to you how it happened. He was asked if he would work towards a 7-0 map if he was elected governor. He says 100%. Good for him. He says the problem with the 7-0 this time was that there was not enough time. Now, I'm going to break up part of his quote and then go back and fill it in for you. There was not enough time. There have to be all kinds of public hearings. I've been there, okay? Public doesn't care. Public doesn't show up. ACLU shows up. SPLC shows up. You know, all the people that are going to be mad and try to bring suit show up. Why are they there, Sky? To try to hear you say something that they can use in court? Try to see what you're doing before you've brought the maps out? The public has no input. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to go down there and say, hey, I live across the street from the 6th Congressional District. I'd really like to be put in. You think they care? They don't care. How do you know they don't care, Scott? Because I didn't care. And I was one of the more caring people. I want to draw the districts the way I want to draw them. I don't care what Joe Morris says. Oh, no, we have to have public hearings. Okay, fine. Some of that is, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news all the time. But a lot of times, these things like, oh, let's have a public hearing, is purely theatrical. It's purely pretend. I wish it wasn't that way. I really, really, really wish it wasn't that way. Have I ever been in a public hearing where I care? Yes, I do. I want the public to make the argument to say, hey, look, this is why we want this, or this is why we don't want this. This is what happened to me in my business. This is what happened to my family. I've heard him in a part of some great public hearings where people poured their heart out to legislators and told the real story. And I'm like, see, look, this is what happens. We got to fix this. And the legislators ignore it. But when it comes to reapportionment, what are you going to say? Oh, it was so sad. I used to be in the 6th Congressional District. Now I'm in the 5th. No. Okay, so all right, public hearings. If you change a map that the public hasn't really looked into and is not vetted, you have no chance to get it done. The 6-1 map has been vetted. There have been public hearings. So this was really the only route we could go. is just to go back to what we had, 6-1, 6-1. Now, the sentence I left out, this is what future Governor Tuberville believes. And you think, well, how did he get to that? That sounds a little different than Scott. Here's the sentence I took out. I went to the House last week, met with the leadership over there in Montgomery, and we talked about it. Okay. Has Tommy Tuberville ever been a part of reapportionment? Nope. Has he ever drew a map? Nope. Was he ever in the legislature when the maps were being drawn? Nope. Has he ever had to, deal with that issue? Nope. So when Montgomery legislators tell the future governor, it was just going to be too hard. I think we're going to have to stick with this. We can't go for a touchdown. We'll just settle for a first down. We'll settle for a field goal, Coach. Coach is like, okay, that makes sense. And I'm not bashing Senator Tuberville at all. I'm not even bashing the leadership. I'm just telling you his opinion on that is based on what the legislator said. And I can't say they're completely wrong, but I'm not exactly sure how you make the argument that the court wouldn't give you 7 if they're going to give you 6, unless you don't believe the court really thinks that you can't base it on race. Because if you don't base it on race, our 6-1 is based on race. I would say that the Supreme Court would look more with disdain on saying, hey, we're Alabama. This is so funny, Sky. Hey, we're Alabama, and we're going to keep our district based on race. And everybody go, wait a minute, Alabama's keeping a race-based district? Those racist? But, oh, no, we're keeping it based on race in the reverse manner. So, anyway. But, hey, God bless the Senator Tuberville wanting to be at 7-0 in the future. I just find it amusing that his reference was the legislative leadership who wanted to stay 6-1.
He's going to have to figure out
and they told
how
him,
the sausage gets made.
And they told him that it's because we couldn't have enough public hearings.
Come on.
Do y'all remember going to the public hearing for the 6-1 map?
Right.
When was that? We had one, Scott. How many people were there? Anyway, we got to take a break. I know. Scott doesn't know. We'll be back.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We are in good shape. Got all our T's crossed and our I's dotted. We got our special guest on. And let me go ahead and introduce an entity that you really need to know about. It's the 1819 News Fred and Rita Skelton Center for Cultural Renewal. The last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of writers on that do some opinion pieces and cultural pieces for 1819 News, and that effort over there in the spirit of Nehemiah is the 1819 News Skelton Center that seeks to rebuild the walls of culture and good society while defending against the attacks of those who seek to corrupt the youth and degrade our civilization, which is one of the things we do a lot on this show. And because of the skeletons in 1819, they're putting a focus on, hey, look, you can't fix the problems, like even politically. You can't fix the problems politically unless the culture is changing too, changing hearts and minds. And because of the work they're doing, we are able to have these writers, opinion writers, on the show for these updates. And you can find more about that over at 1819news.com/culture. Jeff Minnick is one of those writers that is part of the effort being done by the Skelton Center. Jeff Minnick, welcome to the program. Thank you for being on with us, and I hope you're having a fantastic Friday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scott.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on. I apologize for some of the back and forth. I know you were busy, and I'm not the greatest text the person that gets the texts and emails very well, so I'm glad that we were able to make this connection. And let me just tell the folks out there, I've been looking through some of the titles of the pieces that they can go over to 1819 News and look at that you have written. Some of those headlines are actually interesting. The one of them was 4 ways to stay sane in crazy times. Another is the Trump. I like that one a lot. The Trump-Musk dust up and the decline of civility. Battling the boon and blight of AI. Where's another? I like these headlines. Do y'all get to make up the titles, Jeff?
We do. My editor at the 1819 News is Annie Holmquist. I also write for her for Intellectual Takeout, another online outfit. Mm-hmm. And we make up the titles, but she does have the right to change them or to alter them or modify them.
Right.
And it's funny, I was just talking to her yesterday about this, and I love working with her, and we both agree that what we want is just to put the best article out. So I'm not very fussy. I mean, if she changes something, I'm like, great. If it makes it better, that's great by me. So anyway, yeah.
I'm absolutely with you. There's 2 or 3 that really, I don't know how much time we'll have to get to them, but you also have one called The Useless Things. The Useless Things Make Us More Fully Human. That was just, about a month ago? Well, less than a month ago, a week or so ago. And I love the fact that you talk about in detail some of the things we talk about in passing. And I want to really ask you about a couple of different ones. One is, where is it? Here it is. You wrote an article about the digital things that we're dealing with, social media, everybody having a phone in their hands, everybody having an iPod or iPad, whatever it is. It was called Our Digital Drugs Affect More Than Just Children. A couple weeks ago, I said something that I'm sure insulted some adults, which was, why is it that we have these things that we say our children should be kept from? We shouldn't let children do this. We can't let children see this. And then they reach a certain age, and maybe their birthday's on a Wednesday, and then Thursday, Jeff, we're like, okay, well, fine. You can go look at all these pictures that you want to. It'll be great. You're an adult now.
Well, and the other question to ask is, what should adults be looking at? I mean, there was a guy, I don't know who this was, but I came across an article a couple weeks ago about the effect of phones on marriages and the marital bed. I mean, people, climbing in instead of talking or reading together, or
right.
just, laying there dreaming of stuff. They're both on their phones, and it's got apparently cut into that. I'm not familiar with that part of it. My wife died over 20 years ago, but the it's just amazing the effect the phones have had on our society. I mean, everywhere you go, and I will say it just to everybody's relief out there. I'm not on the phone. I use my phone for calling and texting, but I'm on and I'm not on social media, but I am on the computer a lot for work. And then you know how that goes. You're on there to write, and suddenly you spend half an hour dinking around looking at websites and stuff like this. So anyway.
Oh man, Jeff, I wish I just spent half an hour. I'm just going to tell you, as someone who never did social media until about what, Sky, 6 months ago, maybe a year ago.
Right.
It is a terrible scourge on your time because
Greatest time waster in
now
history.
when I'm in the drive-through, I'm looking at my phone. It's just like I'm just going to fill up a little time, and it can't be good for you. And it is an abyss that adults don't want to admit it, but I promise you, adults will stare at their phones for 2 or 3 hours at a time and then wonder where all the time went, not have enough time to do the things that matter. And we are just big, older versions of children.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I can give another example. I have 2 friends who I thought were great readers. One of them, Anne, reads books constantly. The other one, John, told me that he said, I'd call him and he would say, I'd say, what are you doing? He's semi-retired now, and he'd say, I'm reading. And finally, I said, what book are you reading? This was like after 6 months of him saying, I'm reading. I just assumed it was books. And I said, what book are you reading? He said, oh, no, I'm not. I don't read books anymore. I read my phone. And just to, again, insert myself here, I have noticed this is something we should really be aware of, I think, as individuals, is and I read about this, and you may read about it and think, oh, that doesn't affect me, but I'll give myself as an example. I'm a big reader. I used to be a much bigger reader. I'm talking about books and magazines, in print things.
Right.
And I've noticed a huge effect of the last 6 or 7 years, being online a ton during the day, hours and hours and hours, of my attention span has decreased tremendously, actually. I'll look at a book and I'll read. I make the mistake of waiting until before I go to bed, so I fall asleep reading half the time. But you look at stuff online, you're skipping all over the place. You read a headline and you say, I already know about that. You skip to the next thing and you skim it. And it's really, I think, really affecting the way we look at things with our attention span. And that can affect not just reading, but it seems to me like it would affect work, books, relationships, all of this stuff. So
I think you're absolutely right. Jeff Minnick is my guest. He's a father of 4 and a grandfather to many, and his culture articles are made possible by the Fred and Rita Skelton Center for Cultural Renewal over at 1819 News. Jeff, let's hold you over, and we'll continue this discussion on the other side. We will be right back.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We have Jeff Minnick with us. He is one of the opinion writers, cultural writers for the Fred and Rita Skelton Center for Cultural Renewal over at 1819 News. Jeff, I appreciate you being on with us. Let me ask you another question about another article that you have, and people can go over to 1819 News and find these articles by Jeff and other writers. This one was a fascinating one, Jeff, and I really want you to kind of fill us in on what the article's about, what you learned. Jordan Peterson has been one of those guys that I have watched for a number of years, and he's had what I thought was very good advice for young men many, many times. He's been a controversial character because a lot of the left just does not like him. But I have been fascinated with watching what I thought was a spiritual journey for him, and I'm always cheering for him to completely to really come to Christ. And he always to me seems like right on the edge, and I think it's a struggle that, I mean, everybody goes through the struggle. You have to decide, are you on Team Jesus or you're not. But I really liked your article and your evaluation of what Peterson's kind of been going through. I know a lot of people who listen to this show know who Jordan Peterson is. And if you would go through your thoughts, what you wrote about, the story of where you think he is, the whole 9 yards from that piece.
Okay, well, I don't have the piece up before me, and I write a lot, so I may have trouble remembering.
Oh, that's fine. You'll be close. You know way more about it than I do.
No. Yeah. Jordan Peterson, I came across, probably like most people did, with the 12 Rules for Life.
Yes.
And to me it was, and then I started watching some of his podcasts. And actually, I may have even come across him before that when he got in trouble in Canada because he said no government has the right to tell me how to use language.
Correct.
Which I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I followed him for a number of years and saw some great podcasts with his daughter. And then I just saw online today, they had some kind of reflection on how he's been sick. The article actually made, at first I thought he was dead because they kept using this past tense of verbs, and I was like, well, weird. But he is, to me, I think you hit it right on the head. He marches right up to the edge. In the article, I think I mentioned this, his wife became Catholic. I'm pretty sure she became Catholic, and he sat there in church and was very pleased that she had done this, but he's never made the jump.
Mm-hmm.
And he, as you say, and then he also, I mean, just to Christianity, it doesn't have to be Catholicism, but then the other thing that's fascinating is his book, which I'm having trouble remembering.
It's We Who Wrestle with God.
We Who Wrestle with God. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We Who Wrestle with God. My son gave that to me a few years back. I tried to read it, and then I thought I couldn't get through it. He and a lot of other writers, both Christian and non-Christian, are fascinated with the Old Testament, and especially like the book of Genesis, which makes sense. But it was one of those things where he spends a lot of time wrestling with God, I think, but I can't tell if he's winning or losing.
Right. No, I'm with you completely.
Either way, if he won or lost, it might be a good thing with God. He gave himself to God, but I mean, so it's just one of those things that I get it. I mean, I was raised in a Christian household, and like a lot of people, fell away during my 20s and early 30s, married, had kids, and that drew me back to church. And so I get where he's coming from, but it is, and he's, when you look at a guy with that, like that, with a mind like that, he, I would say, I think there's an honesty to him that he's just really looking, but maybe sometimes people look way too hard. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Maybe they are doing it too much with the intellect and not enough with what do I really have faith in here.
Yeah, that's kind of the take I got from watching him and reading your article, and I just wondered, because when I listened to Jordan Peterson, like you said, talking about He's a very intelligent human being, and and I almost get the feel that there's a I don't know how you say it, a stumbling block or a wheel chock in front of his tires, where he can't get over the I'm very smart and I'm very analytical, and that you gotta realize that compared to God, that we're you gotta. I don't know how you say it. You got to be a fool for God almost. It's not going to make perfect sense.
Right.
And I wonder if that's
that.
the stumbling block he has, because I know some people who I'm friends with, who I have great affection for, who seem to struggle with that faith as well, because they see themselves as very smart, and they are very smart.
Well, I once read a theologian who said that maybe the struggle in God's eyes, because at least you're struggling. I mean, I'm sure you maybe have known people like this. I've known people who don't seem to give too much thought at all to God.
Right.
I mean, it's just sort of like in the back of their minds, and if you ask them, some of them would look at you baffled, and and I have a couple of friends who are nominally Christian. They never go to church. They never open a Bible, but they are like that. And so maybe I'm not a theologian, as I said. Maybe, but you look at someone like Jordan Peterson, and at least you have the sense that he is wrestling with God.
Right.
I mean, that he's trying to find God, and maybe that in itself has a sort of nobility that can speak to the rest of us, and it might even maybe be a connecting point to a good number of young men who may be in the same boat as him. I don't know. I just was. He's a little baffling sometimes that way. I think you hit it on the head too, when maybe he is just way too dependent on that fine mind of his. And you said, like, we should become a fool for God. The Bible says we have to become a child of God.
Right.
It doesn't mean we have to become children, but we become childlike in our approach to faith. And
absolutely.
Fine.
Jeff, I appreciate you, buddy. I want to tell everybody your byline kind of over at 1819 News. Jeff is a father of 4, grandfather of many. How many is many?
24 and 1 on the way.
God,
Man,
24 and 1 on the way. Fantastic.
a new record here on the show.
Congratulations. Listen to the rest of this. Former history, literature, and Latin teacher, and now writes prolifically for the Epic Times, American Essence Magazine, several other publications, and 1819 News. Jeff, I appreciate you being on, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thanks very much.
Hey,
Bye.
thank you.
Thanks
We
for
enjoyed
having
it.
me.
Don't forget, Jeff is part of what he does is made possible by the Fred and Rita Skelton Center for Cultural Renewal. It's a project of 1819 News. Go check them out. Great organization, and we will be right back.
Of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. Good conversation there with Jeff Minnick. We appreciate him taking the time to be on with us. We got Pamela Casey, who's running for Attorney General, coming on at 11 o'clock or in the next hour at least. Breaking news out of the United States Supreme Court, which I find fascinating. It's not often that there is a 9-0 decision. That means that Ketanji Brown Jackson voted with Clarence Thomas.
Well, I got to hear what the issue was. This has got to be.
It's got to be. I mean, it must be a slam dunk kind of thing. In a unanimous 9-0 decision, as I said, this is Jim Hoff's piece. The U.S. Supreme Court just ruled that freight brokers,
Truck drivers,
trucking folks,
freight
brokers can be held personally liable for negligently hiring dangerous trucking companies, including those flooding our highways with illegal aliens and unqualified foreign drivers who can't speak English.
Bravo.
Let alone follow CDL regulations. Eric Dougherty tweeted out, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled, blah, 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 that the brokers can be held liable if they negligently hire unsafe trucking companies.
Well done.
I'm
surprised at 9-0.
That's what I'm wondering. They ruled in favor of Sean Montgomery, whose parked vehicle was hit by a speeding truck driver on an Illinois highway in 2017. He wants to sue C.H. Robinson, the country's largest freight broker by size, over its role in putting the driver on the road, despite what he called serious red flags. The decision does not mean, this is from the Associated Press, the decision does not mean Montgomery will necessarily win the lawsuit, which the company is contesting, but the ruling opens the door to increased liability for freight brokers, a key part of the industry. The Trump administration and companies such as Amazon had argued that letting the suit go forward would expose logistic companies to liability under a patchwork. It's always patchwork, a patchwork of state laws. The lawyers say the trucker had been cited for careless driving in another crash months earlier, and that the carrier he worked for had been involved with at least 3 crashes in a span of about 5 months. Montgomery's lawsuit said that C.H. Robinson should share liability because it hired the carrier despite these problems. Now, look, I don't know all the details of the case. I would have felt better about it if they'd have just said, hey, you can go after the trucking company, right? Because if you hired me and you said, hey, Scott, can you find me some way I can get my car to Sky's got, he sold a car to get you to a guy that's got, and then I went out and hired a company. I don't know how many wrecks they've had. I'm not even going to research. I mean, I'm just going to find a company that can carry Sky's car to the person who bought it.
Okay.
So how am I liable for the mishaps of the? No, so that's kind of my thing. But I wish this had been about the company that actually caused the problem, hiring the illegals and hiring the unqualified. But it gets
my next question.
Yeah.
Does this apply to these phony CDL licenses? Does it apply to people that shouldn't even be in the country? Period.
Well, that's a good question.
It would seem like you could use that as precedent.
Yeah.
To apply it to those situations as well.
And maybe the way the industry works, that they're like, hey, there is some, if these companies who are booking the shipping, which would be the brokers, quote unquote, brokering the shipping, if they are worried about the quality of the drivers, it will force the trucking companies to say, no, we're good. We have American drivers. We have drive. And you know what? It may be more than that. You know who the real enforcement people for everything is? Insurance companies.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you get their attention.
So the insurance company will probably be the one that says, hey, wait a minute. We have to insure these brokers. So the brokers are going to get hit if the trucking companies are hiring a bunch of illegals. So now we'll make sure that you're not. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Now,
yeah, you go after.
Does that seem completely right to me? No, because I want liability to be on the people who are actually liable. But, it's a way to get there. But I do think this ruling and I'm not reading the ruling, and of course the articles don't give us the thinking person's reading. Justice Amy Coney Barrett delivered the opinion, so she was the majority opinion, she was the unanimous decision opinion, confirmed that federal law does not shield middleman brokers from state negligence lawsuits. Now, is that lawyers saying, oh, yeah, you can sue anybody for everything? Maybe. But again, how is the broker responsible for the recklessness of the trucking company? They
are engaging to do business with them.
Right.
That's about where it begins and ends.
Now, if you came along to me and said, Scott, hey, you need to know that Joe's trucking company is hiring a bunch of illegals and it's probably dangerous, well, then I know. And maybe I have a responsibility then not to hire that company.
It's a little sketchy.
But it's a little bit on the
end of things there for the Supreme Court, especially.
Yeah. There was a case in Alabama years ago, and I think it was down in the river region. So somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong about how it worked. But in my mind, it is filed away as some guy or girl was driving a car drunk and like crashed it, did something, and then somehow, whether it was Ford or General Motors or whoever, ends up in the lawsuit because the car rolled over or something happened to the car. And I'm like, wait a minute, how does anybody, it's one of the things that made me think, hey, yeah, we do have to have some judicial and legal reform. How does the maker of the car end up being responsible for me driving a car drunk and crashing it?
I remember this case.
You remember that?
Yeah,
I don't remember what the details were. But again, I don't understand how. Now, you can sue anybody for anything, and that's what I'm afraid this says.
Well, it is kind of wide and vague, but the issue, I believe, in the case you're referring to, was the vehicle had previous issues of rolling over. And that was
there was a tire one. Remember that one?
Yeah.
You know, the tire one's why we all have the stupid low tire light.
Right.
You know, that's on in everybody's car.
I know. Yeah, that stays on.
Yeah, it stays on because you're not going to go get that stupid sensor replaced. But that's why we have it.
Yeah, overreach. But you should be pleased because you've always remarked go after the employers of illegal. Not sure this is going to stretch that far.
Right.
But at least,
well, it's gonna make trucking companies start thinking. Well, wait a minute,
have to be a little more discreet or selective at least.
Yeah.
So
it's good for the Americans who show up to work, truck drivers, show up sober, and want to do a good job and take care of their families and earn a good living. So God bless them. But 9-0, I'm going to have to try to figure out what it actually says. And my bet is it just says, hey, you can try to sue anybody you want. I think that's what it's going to
That's how you get 9 lawyers to agree.
Exactly right. We got to take a break. We'll be back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome into the program, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. This is the third half of the program, only show in the country with three halves. Don't forget our friend Brian Dawson and 1819 News, the podcast. We really good show. You can find it any of the places where you usually get your podcast, but check it out, 1819 News, the podcast with Brian Dawson. We now have a very special guest with us again, Pamela Casey, who is running for Attorney General here in the state of Alabama. Miss Casey, or Pam, how are you?
Good, long time, Scott.
I know it has been. Well, I've known
since
Pamela Casey for years. She was, elected district attorney in Blount County, 2010, 2011, something like that?
Yes. And so I feel like I'm not old enough to have known you as long as we've known each other.
Well, I can tell you this, Pamela, you're not old enough for as long as we've known each other, but I every morning feel old enough for as long as we've known each other. Well, tell me how are things going? I know you're running for Attorney General, pretty crowded slate, some good candidates there. You are one of the more qualified ones, in my opinion. How's it going, and how's the experience?
Well, hey, let me tell you, I have loved being across the state, campaigning. Been on the road almost 17 months, also DAing at the same time, trying cases, and I am the most qualified. We feel like, going into Tuesday's runoff or primary, that we make the runoff and we win this race. We feel like the people are tired of the negative and the dark money and all the junk. And when you clear all that out and you look at the facts and you do your research, you'll see I'm the only one that's been actually doing the job for almost 20 years. I mean, we are excited about Tuesday, and we would be honored to have people join our team and put the most qualified candidate in the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, let's explore that a little bit, Pamela, if you don't mind. I mean, you have been a district attorney. Did you work in the district attorney's office before you became district attorney? I think you did.
I was at the Attorney General's office, so I actually started my career down in Montgomery.
Uh-huh.
I did our capital litigation, which is our death penalty cases, and our violent crimes. And I did, that's how I cut my teeth on the worst of the worst as a young prosecutor. And so I've been in that office. I know how it works. I know how it runs. I know where we need to make some changes. Mm-hmm. And then ran for DA. I was 28 when I ran, if you remember that, and became the youngest female ever elected district attorney in the history of the state, and been elected a total of 3 times now in Blount County.
Right. No, that was amazing. I remember that because when I was first elected, I failed to be elected when I was 24, and I was elected when I was 28. And then when you were running, I was like, "Dang, she's young." But I knew how everybody else felt before when I was elected. But so tell us. I think that's one of your big arguments, is that you are the most qualified. But kind of explain to us a little bit, and to the listeners, why it matters. It almost seems like in Alabama, people are like, "Well, I might want to be an attorney general," but if they don't have the experience,
and they just sign up.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, I kind of related to this. Like, if you found out your local school was hiring a principal, mm-hmm. and that principal had never been a teacher, you'd be like, what are they doing? And so you really want to hire somebody who's actually been in the courtroom, who's worked with local governments, who has worked with local agencies, been in the foxhole with law enforcement. So when they go to Montgomery, they are your top law enforcement official. They are working with the legislature. They are working with all the agencies, commissions, handle all the criminal appeals in the state. I'm the only candidate in this race that's actually argued in front of the Court of Criminal Appeals. I was just in front of the Alabama Supreme Court back in September on no bond for our capital defendants. And so when you want someone that can run an office, you want someone that can actually knows the importance of the work being done, because they've lived it every day for 20 years.
Right. Now that makes perfect sense. So let me ask you this. I know in a crowded field, and you've run before, and I know, and here's the great thing about the show is that I give you plenty of time to answer. But when you're just out there and somebody comes along and says, well, why should I maybe not vote for the other people? It seems like all the candidates are kind of saying the same things. Everybody's always tough on crime. Everybody's, I'm solid. I love Donald Trump. Everybody says all kind of the same things. How do you tell somebody, what is your real zinger point that says this is why Pamela Casey might be better than the other people running?
Well, I'm not bought and paid for. I want you to look at the money that's come into this race. You've got probably at this point $6 or $7 million that's come into the race. Most of that being what we call dark money outside the state that we can't trace to who it came from. Really, it's coming from these shell corporate companies, and so I am not bought and paid for. In fact, right now I could retire, come to the house, and the difference between me working and retirement is $500 a month. You really got to want to serve and really want to do the job to show up every day or for $500 a month for the job. And so when we talk about me being the Attorney General, I have run this race on less than $200,000, and I am right in the mix of this. We expect to be in that runoff. We expect to win. And this is why. The people of Alabama are sick and tired of politicians running those offices and being held over the barrel to special interests. The people want their interest to be first, and that's what I bring. I am not connected to dark money. I am not connected to special interests. My interest is the people of Alabama, and I will serve them with the highest level of integrity and respect.
That's a pretty good point. I like that line. Says I'm not bought and paid for. I've been bringing it up with a number of races, and we're talking to Pamela Casey. She's a district attorney out of Blount County, has been for a number of years. Very experienced and qualified, running for Attorney General here in the state of Alabama. I just find it, and I want you to weigh in on it a little bit, I find it fascinating. We've talked about a number of races on my program, Pamela, and it just seems like in Alabama, we as the voters keep ending up with a slate of people who, if you just wrote down what they say they believe in, it's almost the same over and over and over. They're all conservative. They're all fighting for us. They're all doing these things. But then
it's almost like the same person is writing all the ads.
Yes, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in from out of state with dark money, or someone says, you know what? It's worth millions of dollars to me to weigh in, and I'm going to get behind candidate X. And I always wonder, if they're all the same candidate, why is X worth millions of dollars?
Well, and that's what's crazy is, I keep asking this, like, what in that Attorney General's office, an office that's supposed to be the last stand for the people of Alabama to protect them and keep them safe, what is in that office that's worth millions of dollars to people in this and outside in D.C. and Virginia right now? Well, I'll tell you, but I'm not for sale, and the people of this state are not for sale. But for some reason, they seem to be in this race. And you really got to be worried when you've got someone who has. There's just the people need to do their research about the money that has been funneled into this race, and literally just an attempt to go around our Alabama campaign finance laws. We should be able, that was the reason why we have open, you can go online and look at people's stuff, is you want to know who's paying for that, who's supporting, who's giving them money. Yeah. We can't do that in this race. We can't tell who's putting, it's almost like blank checks being written, like, billionaires writing $200,000 and $300,000 billion-dollar check. And that's just absolutely ludicrous, and the people of this state should be offended that any candidate would be okay with taking money and selling the people of this state. It's ludicrous. But, I've stood on my qualifications. I've said that I've kept a clean race. We've run a clean race. But I do think it's important that the people will follow the money trail in this race.
Pamela Casey's my guest. We're going to carry her over to the next segment, and you don't want to miss it. Very interesting conversation. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politician.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. I'm Scott Beason. We're here talking to Pamela Casey, who is running for Attorney General here in the state of Alabama and is, I guess, the most experienced of the candidates. Pamela, thank you for being on the program, and I want to ask you a couple of things. To my understanding is you are the only person running who has ever went after maybe illegal aliens voting in the state of Alabama?
Absolutely. We just recently, in January, after being notified by Secretary of State Wes Allen that we had an individual, a non-citizen in our county, voted 9 times, even voted absentee.
And we know, Pamela, that in Blount County, only legal citizens are allowed to vote 9 times.
Nah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Well, and it's interesting. I told my husband, I said, I think he's voted more like an American should vote than some of our Americans, but he shouldn't have been voting.
That's
He
awesome.
had a heck of a voting record. And you know what was interesting, Scott, is as soon as I indicted it and released it, all of a sudden the Fed stepped in. And I'm like, well, where y'all been this last it wasn't until I did the indictment that they came through and come down and picked him up within just a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, we've been fighting. We're going to follow the law when I'm the Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Attorney General's office is about enforcing the rule of law.
Right.
And not worrying about if we make somebody mad or if somebody's feelings get hurt. Do what's right. And I've always believed God will handle it and do the right thing.
Right. No, that's a great point. And, Alabama has had our leadership at the state level has, for the most part, in my opinion, ignored a lot of the illegal immigration. Now, look, Wes Allen's done some good work at the Secretary of State's office. I don't think the governor cares how many illegal aliens we have.
The problem is,
mm-hmm.
Getting the feds to come pick up a lot of our illegal aliens that are sitting in the jails. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had people that I wanted deported. Hey, we've got somebody here at the jail, and they just sit there on ice holes, and it's like, come on, let's go. I mean, because essentially we're paying for them.
Right.
And, so we've got to do better, and I think we are doing better currently with our administration, with working with federal agencies to get that to happen quicker.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's what I want people to hear about you, Pamela, is the been in the trenches, understand what's going on, experienced. That's not knocking any of the other candidates, but I like when people come on to talk about their strengths and give them the ability to speak out. Now, before we run out of time, how do people find out about you, your candidacy, maybe contact you if they want to? How do they do that?
Well, I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to give you my cell phone number, and y'all are going to think that's insane, but I've given it out all over the state. It's 256-390-5407. Only cell number I've ever had. That's not some burner phone. You can find me on Pamela Casey for Alabama Attorney General on Facebook or our website at PamelaCasey.com. Look, I'm probably one of the few elected officials in this day and age who really care about the people and want to serve. Really want to serve, don't want to be your lieutenant governor, don't want to be your senator. I want to be your attorney general, and then I want to come home to Aniana and finish raising my 2 children. And my husband's a teacher, and spend my time here in Aniana when that's done. But I would love to have their vote on Tuesday. and tell your family and friends that Pamela Casey is the most qualified for the position.
I think that's more than fair. And now, look, I'm going to tell all the listeners out there, and we have thousands of people across the state, especially in the River region, listening, Pamela, that absolutely that is Pamela's cell phone number, and it has been for years. Because it's been in my phone for years, and it's the same number. So, so y'all can call her if you want to. Pamela, I appreciate it, and good luck to you. I guess it's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so close. Thank you so much, Scott. Y'all have a great weekend. God bless.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Pamela. That's Pamela Casey, running for Attorney General here in the state of Alabama. Hey, pretty solid discussion there. Let's move on to Sky. I think we have somebody else who's been trying to get in touch with us, and we'll check on that. I think Sky's checking the phones now to check on that. But I want to run down a couple other different stories that are out there as we're running into the end of our time on a Friday. You're not going to believe some of the stuff that is going on. Now, it's not making huge news, but just the insanity that is happening. Have y'all kept up with the mayor's race at all in Los Angeles, Sky?
I've seen some blurbs, some little reels and spots about it.
I'm trying to remember who's the Republican who is running. What's the guy's name? He's got all these really good AI generated ads. He's driving everybody. Not everybody, but driving the left insane out there. Let me see if my wife sent me that story yesterday.
Karen Bass is the incumbent.
He's the governor. Spencer, she's the governor.
Karen Bass.
She's the mayor. Karen Bass is the mayor. Sorry.
Xavier Becerra.
Spencer Pratt.
Spencer Pratt. That's
Spencer
the guy.
Pratt is the guy, and there's a number of people on social media, doing these little dancing, these little jigs, and one guy says, "I'm on my way to L.A. to illegally vote for Spencer Pratt."
Yeah.
And people are talking about, hey, let's all get some buses and drive to L.A. and vote for Spencer Pratt, because what are they going to do to us? ID us? They don't do that, do they?
No.
What are they going to do?
They don't.
If an illegal alien from another country can vote, why can't we from Alabama vote?
Oh, I think that's different, Scott.
Yeah, do you think it's probably a jailable offense to be from Alabama and vote in California? But if you're from Guadalajara, Guadalupe, you can vote.
Sure, we'll give you a cell phone and a hotel room,
Car,
man.
place to
Come on
stay,
down.
free drugs.
Sure.
They do drugs too for the homeless, don't they? Don't they drive around in California with vans with drugs? And you're like, man, I'm dying. I ain't had my shot. Well, we brought. Not only did we bring, we started this with needles. Remember? I don't know why this popped in my head.
Free needles.
But it started off as, oh my gosh, we need to make sure they have clean needles while they're doing their drugs. And people said, bunch of prudish, unloving, uncaring people said, what are you doing? It's going to start with needles. Eventually, y'all be giving them drugs. And they were like, oh, how dare thou say that? That's the stupidest thing ever, you big meanie pants. Now we're driving around. We give them drugs, too, because we don't want them to have, withdrawals while they're sleeping in the tent and pooping in the street.
Yeah.
Can you say that on the radio?
Yeah,
I guess you can.
It was a beautiful state.
Have you seen
California.
the pictures of Los Angeles?
I have.
There are
and San
places
Francisco as well. It's ridiculous. You got to watch where you step when you walk down the sidewalk. Are you human waste on the sidewalk?
I mean, look, we're in Alabama, right? Can you imagine? You go out in your yard, you're playing ball with the kids or whatever, and you step in something, and you're like, "Oh my gosh! Please tell me that wasn't dog poo." And so you go over the side, you find a post or a house or a tree to lean against, and you raise your foot up, and you're like, oh, my gosh, got to find a stick. And you're so mad about it. But can you imagine living in California? And you do that, and then you're like, whew, it was just dog poo.
Yeah.
I mean, the relief.
No, I can't imagine that. I really can't.
The relief, it's like God's got to say, he's like, well, what you going to be grateful or not?
Yeah.
Come on. Man. I don't know what they've done, but Pratt is got them stirred up out there, and We got to take another break, but we will be right back after this.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. Thanks for listening. This is, I am Scott Beason. Let's get out of your phone calls. Not a lot of time left in the day on a free-for-all Friday. It's been kind of crazy with a couple of different guests, but I thought those were interesting conversations. Let's go to, we got two we're going to get through. Joey from Prattville. Joey, welcome to the program. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you as well, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Another day in paradise, as they say.
Yes, it is a beautiful one at that.
Yes, sir.
I want to play like devil's advocate on a previous caller.
Okay.
There, and he agreed about the voting issue with like on the higher federal level.
Yeah. He started out. He doesn't want people voting. He doesn't want people funding campaigns in Alabama. Like, why should Virginia people be putting money into the Attorney General's office race in the state of Alabama? And then I said, yeah, but, maybe they can in federal races. And he's like, no. They just need to stay out of our races completely. And I kind of agreed. Yep.
And here's where I'm going to come back with devil's advocate.
Okay?
On your congressman level below, straight up, that's your state.
Okay.
Congress basically just throws out a lot of proposals and ideas, and we would like this, that, and the other. Senate confirms it and puts it on the president's desk, right?
Yeah, that's the theoretical way it works. Yes.
So why should a senator in California vote on a bill that I put forward to make it either law or not? I guarantee you, if you put senators on a federal voting registry, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Bernie Sanders, they're not in their 30-something years.
Mm-hmm.
Because where we know that them people are idiots, we get to say whether or not they're there. If you control what law affects me,
mm-hmm.
you have control of that. You put it. The congressmen, they just throw out a bunch of stupid ideas. Throw as many stupid ideas as you want, but you can't pass them with a majority. Neither part. You want to balance out the Senate. You want to bring about a kind of term limit.
Uh-huh.
So when you get to that senator, you have so much sway over the congressman, and then that's when all that fraud and money embezzling, and then it breaks down to the governor from the congressman. And next thing you know, you got rigged elections. We could do away with all that. You will get rid of them Pelosi and the Schumers.
Now, but those two were in the House. So you're talking about getting rid of like Mitch McConnell, the U.S. senators that have been there. So you want the U.S. senators turned into a national election like the president? So we would vote on the senators in California, and Californians would vote on our senators?
And I'd have if they can get enough votes, because throughout the nation, the majority of states, as it is, are Republican states.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have a bunch of Democratic Senate or cities.
Yeah.
But the states are the majority Republican because the people of the United States actually have common sense.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to work on that. If the president could ever get the rhinos in the U.S. Senate now to pass the SAVE Act, if we could just get all the illegal folks, stop them from voting and stop people from voting 2 or 3 times and stop all the illegal voting, I do think you would see the U.S. Senate change. Even in some of the blue states, I think they would elect more conservative U.S. senators. We'd have to work on your plan because the millions and millions of people that California has more than we do. So you want both of our senators and both of their senators to all be elected like the way we do the president. We would all vote, and it'd be popular vote for all 100 spots. And you're saying we have enough red state people that we would win most of those spots, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because if you look at a local state, California, for example, it's planted in that level is majority Democrat.
Right.
But they still have 30-something% turnout on the Republican. They just lose every year.
Gotcha.
Well, my 80% Republican in Alabama trumps their 70% Democrat.
I got you. I think it'd be,
I think in the long run, it would actually balance out.
Maybe so. Joey, I appreciate the call, buddy. You have a great weekend, okay?
You as well, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for
One way
listening.
that's one way to enforce the term limits.
Well, I mean, but the whole remember the whole debate between Hillary and Trump about who won the popular vote?
Oh yeah, we get into our
And then if
democracy.
you take out all
and
the illegal
that.
votes, I think Trump wins the popular vote in 16 and in 24. But with all this illegal voting that goes on in the blue states and the blue cities, it's
yeah, it's kind of hard to beat.
it's kind of hard to beat
they
that
can
until we stop
produce
it.
as many votes as they need.
Whatever they
yeah.
need, man. How many votes you up by? Oh, 5,000. Hey, look, we found 5,002.
Yeah, it only took a couple of minutes.
And
too.
you lose.
Wow.
Conservative. Where did everybody go?
Everybody's chickened out, but Paul P. remains.
Paul P. remains. Paul P., welcome to the program. You're going to finish us out on this free-for-all Friday, Paul P. How are you?
Well, howdy. Y'all have a great weekend and happy Friday. I got one simple question. How do you go about getting a sample ballot for Republican or otherwise?
A sample ballot.
You should be able. Alabama.gov would be one way. Another, you can just Google that Alabama election sample ballot, and you should get some good results that are printable.
There you go. Maybe you can find one that's your district. You look for the one that's your house district, probably your Alabama house district. That'd be the best
one. Put in
one.
your zip code or something.
Yep.
If you don't know your district.
That's what we're guessing.
And by the way, who do we need to contact about the last part of the conversation the other day about doggone it? Just that's what happens when you get older and you get sidetracked. You just went kapoop.
Hey, Paul P., I'm hoping when I get old. Hey, let me tell y'all this for a Friday, all right? I had a little boy tell me this morning it was his last day to ride. He wanted to know if I was going to be there next year. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I sure do hope you don't die. And I'm like, why? He said, because you're pretty old.
Oh.
That was a low blow, wasn't it?
Children say the darndest things. Yeah. We got to go. On that
Hey,
note,
y'all be good. Be safe. We'll
Thanks,
try to be
Paul.
back next week. See y'all.